Hey there and welcome to the Understanding Domestic Violence and Abuse video of the Unmasking Domestic Violence and Abuse Community Awareness Program. In this video, I'll go over what domestic violence and abuse is, who can receive and deliver it, and I'll take you through 13 different types of abuse so that you are able to reflect on them and recognise where they might be showing up in your life and relationships. There are a lot of different definitions for domestic violence and abuse, depending on the organisation, country, state, or intended audience that the definition has been written for. I want to simplify the definition and start by breaking down the words themselves. Domestic, defined as something related to the home or family. Violence, defined as behaviour involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something. And abuse, defined as the misuse of something or someone. For the purpose of this program, I've used an all-inclusive definition, which is that domestic violence and abuse is a pattern of behaviour that a person will use to establish and maintain power and control over a current or previous intimate partner, family members, close friends, or people requiring care, such as children, the elderly, or people with a disability. This definition helps to somewhat simplify a very multi-layered and complex topic, and makes it not only more understandable, but also relatable to anyone receiving, observing, or delivering the abuse. So who is it that can be a receiver or deliverer of domestic violence and abuse? The answer to that is simple. It's anyone. It doesn't matter about your gender, age, race, profession, financial status, sexual orientation, religion, or any other factors. Anyone can be a receiver of domestic violence and abuse, and anyone can be a deliverer. So it's important to focus on the behaviours and not dismiss the fact that the violence and abuse could be present based on the label or labels that somebody might fall under. So now let's break down the behaviours and go through 13 different types of abuse. 1. Physical abuse. This is the most commonly known form of abuse. This includes anything that does or intends to cause physical harm or death to the person receiving the abuse. 2. Sexual abuse. This includes coercing, manipulating, or forcing the person receiving the abuse to participate in sexual acts that they don't fully consent to or feel comfortable with. 3. Reproductive abuse. This includes intimidation, manipulation, or tampering with contraception, where the outcome is intended to go against the reproductive choices of the person receiving the abuse. 4. Psychological and emotional abuse. This includes any threats or actions that cause psychological or emotional distress to the person receiving the abuse. 5. Financial abuse. This is when manipulation, intimidation, or force is used to restrict the person receiving the abuse from financial control, or makes them responsible for shared debts. 6. Social abuse. This is when restrictions are imposed on the person receiving the abuse that limits their ability to develop or maintain relationships with others. 7. Stalking. This is when the person receiving the abuse has their movements regularly monitored and their privacy ignored. 8. Cultural and spiritual abuse. This is when the person receiving the abuse has their culture and beliefs either ignored or used against them, or has the culture and beliefs of the person delivering the abuse forced on them. 9. Image-based abuse. This is when the person receiving the abuse has naked or private images of them taken or shared without their consent. The threat of sharing these kinds of images is also included in this form of abuse. 10. Legal abuse. This includes situations where the person receiving the abuse is threatened with or has false legal claims made against them. They are stopped from seeking independent legal advice, or the person delivering the abuse deliberately causes delays to legal proceedings, or destroys documents and other items that may be used against them as evidence in legal matters. 11. Neglect. This includes situations where the person receiving the abuse is not provided with basic human needs, with things such as access to enough good quality food and water, personal care and support, a safe home, a space for privacy, access to transportation for appointments, the ability to leave the home, appropriate clothing and footwear, a safe and comfortable place to sleep, help with or access to facilities to maintain personal hygiene, along with basic human kindness and care. 12. Verbal abuse. This is when the person receiving the abuse is taunted, belittled, humiliated, insulted, and threatened verbally, either privately or publicly. And 13. Technological abuse. This is when technology is used to deliver several of the abuse types we've just mentioned, with things like tracking, social media monitoring, reading through conversations with others, and much more. Now, with this understanding and awareness of domestic violence and abuse, and the different types of abuse, it's now up to you to recognise the signs of it in your own life, and consider whether the situation you're in is safe and respectful for everyone involved. If it's not, and you're ready to seek the appropriate support for you and your situation, I encourage you to stop the program here and contact your local or national domestic violence and abuse support service. For anyone living in Australia, the organisation to call is 1-800-RESPECT, and their number is 1-800-737-732.